Hey, hello everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm Karen Yankovich, and I am here to brainstorm a little bit with you on the topic of the week here in Karen Yankovichville. And that is the topic of our podcast this week. Podcast is Good Girls Get Rich, and it's episode 168. 168. Can you believe I have 168 episodes of this podcast? God, I love this. And the topic was don't be a superhero, be a human hero. And it is a hot topic for me. One that I kind of learned the hard way, and I kind of learned like when I hit a wall one day, and really what I'm, so before we get into the topic, I am here live. It is Thursday afternoon, and we're live in my Facebook group, which if you are not a part of, you should absolutely join us. You can check that out at linkedinforwomencommunity.com. I am also live on LinkedIn and YouTube. So if you're watching me live in any of those places, please jump in. Let me know you're here and drop in your questions. I'm happy to brainstorm your thoughts on all of this. I'm happy to, jump in with you and see how we can make this applicable to what you're doing. So please do that if you're live. If you're not watching this live, if you're watching this on the replay, then still leave in your comments and your questions, and I'll just respond to them, at some later date, but I definitely will get back to you. So again, the topic of the day, the topic that we want to brainstorm this week is superhero versus human hero. And, the reality is, I'm not 25. You guys might have noticed that. And I have no desire whatsoever to work 20 hours a day. Like none whatsoever. I have been there. I've done that. And there's times in my life that I probably will do it again, depending on what's going on in my business or my life. But the reality is I am the anti-hustle. Anybody, you guys, those of you that are in my She's Linked Up program, family of programs, I'm like, I don't want you to hustle. I want the opposite. I want this to flow. I want it to be ease. I want you to connect with people on a very micro targeted basis and actually get on the phone with them where you can land big clients and let's go with a $10,000 offer so that you only have to sell 2 a month and you're making, $250,000 a year, right? Like that's how I fly. That's how I ride. That's how I flow. That's what everybody that's in my program, that's what I teach them. I don't want this. I mean, I've done it, right? I've done the launches and the 70 million, oh my gosh, there was a time where I was doing 15, I was recommending to other people too, because it was working at the time, 15 tweets a day. We were tweeting about the podcast. We were tweeting about so many things and all the posts on Instagram and Facebook. And frankly, on Facebook, who's always even seeing your stuff on Facebook anymore, right? So it's exhausting, right? It's exhausting. And it doesn't feel expansive. It feels exhausting. And I do really, truly believe from the bottom of my heart that it just got worse in the past couple of years. Because what happened when the world went virtual is that the digital noise went, right? It got so loud. I remember looking back, it had to be because of the pandemic. But I remember last winter, putting out a message to people in my program, people that work for me. I'm like, the only way I will reach, people that work for me, if you need me, you need to Slack me. It is the only way to get to me. And the students in my programs, I'm like, there's a help desk. If you need anything, go through the help desk. It's not that I don't want to chat with you via Facebook DMs. It's that my Facebook DMs, my Twitter DMs, my Instagram DMs were getting bombed. They were exploding. I couldn't keep up with them. And now I was dropping balls and missing things. And I couldn't have the important messages be there, right? So it got noisier and it felt exhausting, right? It doesn't work anymore. All that stuff doesn't work anymore. So you can keep trying to do that stuff. You can keep hustling and, cranking out the content and cranking out the stuff. I'm committed to doing my podcast every week. That's the content that I'm committed to doing. I love jumping on here live. So I'm happy to do that whenever I have an opportunity to, but because those things feel expansive to me, right? Like my podcast, we recorded not a lot in advance because I want it to be timely. If there's topics that are of interest that are coming up in the world, I want to be able to talk about it, but it's batched. We do it a little bit in advance and, it doesn't stress me. It doesn't overwhelm me. If you look at my social media platforms, we're not pumping out a lot of content anymore. We're not. And our business has never been this good, right? I was taught at an early age, especially when I started to become an entrepreneur, that we had to be superwoman. I needed to be superwoman. I was a single mom. I have 4 kids. I had a full-time job, a crazy ass commute, and was running a business on the side, right? I was superwoman. and I was exhausted. I was exhausted. Why are we being taught that we have to be superhuman to be successful? I don't think we do have to do that. I don't think we have to do that at all. In fact, I don't want to be superhuman. And there was you guys might have heard me say this, tell the story before, but there was I should have brought props. I didn't. There was a friend of mine one time, she was going through a lot of personal struggles, and all of her friends were telling her she was like Superwoman. So they bought her all these Superwoman shit, right? Paraphernalia stuff. So I was telling her one day like that, I was talking to one of my coaches, and we were like, I was going to come up like Superwoman, and she gave me the Superwoman mug to kind of support me. And we were going to be Superwomen together. And oh my God, if you're watching this now, you know who you are. Like, can you believe we even had that conversation? It wasn't even that long ago. And one day I was making tea, and I grabbed my Superwoman mug, and I looked at it, and I went, oh my God, I'm too tired to be Superwoman today. I put the mug down, and right next to that mug was another mug that said, I want to be a mermaid. And I was like, that's what I want. I don't want to be Superwoman. And now you can see, whoops, I gotta go which way. So you can see all the mermaid stuff behind me. Like, I've embraced the mermaid vibe in my business since then, because mermaids just flow with ease, right? They do what they got to do. They get business done. They take care of business, but they're not fighting people to get where they want to get and to do what they want to do, right? So I started to use the mermaid mug because I was like, this is what I want to be today. I don't want to be Superwoman today. And honestly, ever since that day, I've really embraced that. I don't want to be fighting all the time to have success. I don't want to be exhausted. I don't want to be fighting with my calendar. I don't want to be, I don't want to be stressed. Like, I want to be able to see my family when I want to see my family. I want to be able to go out and have dinner with my friends when I want. You can't do all of that if you're Superwoman, right? Like, to me, that's exhausting. So episode 168, I'd love to hear what you think about this, by the way, because there's so many people out there. Like, I remember I was interviewed for a podcast one time, and it wasn't this whole series. It was a big like conference type, like virtual conference type thing. And they asked me, what superhero did I want to identify with in the conference? And I was like, oh, you asked the wrong person that question. I don't want to be a superhero. I just want to be human. I don't want to have to be superhuman. I just want to be human. And listen, humans, that doesn't mean that we don't, like, what do they say about tea bags? Like when, they get stronger when they're in hot water, right? Like, you guys all have heard the stories about the moms who, kid got pinned under a car and was able to pick up the car. That wasn't superhuman. That was human. That is a human being. She wasn't a superhuman, right? So those things that happen when we have adrenaline or when things like that happen, that is our human beings doing that, right? Now, we don't want to have to do that every day. We don't want that adrenaline and all that to happen, that fight or flight happening every day. It would burn out. But it's there for us when we need it. We can still be human and lift the car when we need to, right? That's what humans do. So episode 168 is really all about that. It's really all about how to create a business with ease, with expansion, showing up as the CEO, not being exhausted. So Max is saying, sounds like we're talking about what should and should not. Where we do what everyone else does, whether it works for us or not. Glad to hear someone on with your reach talking about sustainability and honesty. Yeah, Max, honestly, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do that. I don't want to hustle. No disrespect to guys like Gary Vee, who are wildly successful and whose processes clearly work. I don't want to hustle. I don't want to, and I don't want any of my students to hustle. I don't want you to have to hustle. I want you to be able to create a process that's sustainable, that's doable, that's fun, right? And that's human, and don't feel like you have to be superhuman. It's okay to be human. And humans sometimes need naps, right? Humans sometimes need breaks, and that's okay. Humans need a little self-care sometimes. That's okay, right? So that's really what we were talking about this week on Good Girls Get Rich is episode 168. Actually, let me just share that with you. Give me 1 second to get that set up for you. So check it out, KarenNikievich.com/168. That is the podcast this week. And it really is about how to be wildly successful and not feel like you need to be a superhero to do it. I'm here for anybody that wants to chat about this stuff. If you haven't connected with me on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, then you know how to connect with me on LinkedIn. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, then go to just search Karen Yankovich on LinkedIn. You'll find me and connect with me, and let's talk, let's connect, let's get to know each other, because that's where business happens. Okay, and that's simple and easy and human to human interaction. All right, humans. I'll see you guys all again soon.